All right, click the links for Odysee and BitChute because YouTube is a-hole. So the cattle will put up with a lot in terms of bad movies because a movie is a community experience, or at least it kind of used to be more. People like to talk about it with others, but I think that crossover point is either here or very close, where the movies are finally so bad that they're not worth the community serotonin rush, the escapist fantasy from realizing what a shithole a globalist turned America into, which is good because the bread and circuses are poison, or at least but it used to at least be sugar-coated poison. Now they're not even that. They've crossed that cancer bridge or jumped the shark, if you saw that Happy Days episode. And even if you don't actually talk about movies with people, you still want to be on the same cultural page, like to get the references and that kind of stuff. It'll drive you crazy if some reference is in the common vernacular lexicon. What do you call that? Common usage. And you're just like, oh, I don't get this reference. It's a Sex and the City reference. Well, it's like, you can put a gun to my head and I would watch Sex and the City. But other than that, I would rather miss that reference. Like 30 seconds of watching those chicks walk and chew gum. It's like, I'm ready to put the gun to my own head. My point would be that you want to be on the same cultural page with people, but only up to the point and sort of within your age and sex range. Like for Sex and the City, the only guys I knew watching that were two gay guys. And that was about it. Or maybe straight guys would watch it in secret. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed absolutely fucking insufferable to me. Sorry for swearing. So if every film is going to be super woke, Get Out, but in Wakanda and maybe more in space, with more basketball and indentured servitude references, like, you're going to get those references nonstop for the next 50 years. Then you combine that with the Wu Flu and the effect on the kind of the cultural psyche of, like, you want to sit in a theater? Apparently for Fast and Furious 9, people said yes. I think that did pretty well in the theater. So I guess some people wore masks, other people had the shot, and they just said, yeah, go for it. I look at it like, I don't know if I'm so eager for that. But there's a necessary infrastructure with the theater system, economy of scale kind of thing that takes a hit. Then more things go to streaming, and they kind of become made for streaming, and the budgets get a little bit smaller to account for that, and it becomes a kind of a runaway reaction where theaters start to disappear. And I don't think they want theaters to close. I honestly think that they believe the cattle are just going to accept every character being a breastless lesbian. But the fly in their ointment is social media, where we are free to literally call them lizard people and talk about their reptilian agenda all we wish. They don't fear the Phantom Menace, but they're not happy about it. Comicsgate, the Phantom Menace, or other groups like that really annoy them. But because they view you as cattle to be used and then used up, cattle aren't allowed to question their betters, and that is absolutely how they feel about you. It is a weird customer relationship they have with the customer being someone who they actively hate. So the Phantom Menace isn't actually that big, but it's a dedicated group who are into this sort of pop cultural stuff. They're the people who, they see the movie, then they buy the DVD collections, then they buy the t-shirt, the little plushy dolls, all this stupid garbage made in China, which just made by, slaves in the worst of conditions. It's like, yeah, you're supporting China. Congratulations. You see those YouTubes with all the crap in the background, all those toys in the background. Like, why the hell why do you want all that stuff? Like, give it to kids so they can play with it. It's like, oh, they're in a box. Like, just get a green screen with all that crap already, like, imaged onto it. That would be funny. And just have it in the background. So the YouTube Comicsgate Phantom Menace has got a certain number of subs, but that also stretches out to Twitter, BitChute, Gab, Odysee, Kiwi Farms, 4chan, Telegram, Discord, millions of private little chat rooms, and it doesn't take much to shift the narrative on a movie. You point out one stupid thing in the movie, and it starts percolating in the back of your mind. It's like once you point out like a logic flaw in a movie, or you see like the Disney Star Wars movies, people start pointing out logic flaws. And it's like, oh, you just ruined the movie. It's like it's a movie best seen from 30,000 feet. Because once you start to think about it, you're like, this movie is dog shit, and the people who made it should be publicly caned. So the Phantom Menace can't make a good film tank, but that's not what's happening. That's not what they're trying to do. They're laughing at bad movies, which is what Comicsgate was doing 3 years ago when Myers started laughing at bad comics, which apparently people discovered very quickly that people in comics and movies are actually insane people with unbelievable levels of hubris. But all this stuff takes the buzz away from the film. It kind of points out the man behind the curtain in comics or in films. You're like, these comics, these movies, these are made by bad people who hate you, and they're actively insulting you, and they also want your money. It's like, why would you support that? But it's only the soy boys on Twitter that say we're trying to tank good films. Why would we? Oh, we're toxic. The customer's not toxic. Maybe you should just make better product. How hard is that? And if you didn't want feedback, then don't be in the public sphere. But they're not perfect. A lot of people thought Black Widow was going to be bad, which now that I think about it, it actually was bad, because someone was, I was in this comment section, and I said, oh yeah, it was good. It wasn't for me. I think women would enjoy it. I wouldn't see it twice. And then they said, well, if you wouldn't see it twice, how good is it? And I thought about it. I thought, yeah, I'm just used to expecting mediocre movies. I expected it to be Captain Marvel level bad. It wasn't, so I said, oh yeah, it's good. It just wasn't for me. No, don't accept bad movies. That was a bad movie. And I got it from someone else's Disney account, so I wasn't paying for it. But no, that doesn't make it a good movie. Not being bad isn't good. It wasn't a bomb like Wonder Woman 1984, but it wasn't good. But it wasn't that far from being good. It was close. Anyway, arguing about how much gay in movies is too much doesn't matter, because I hope it's all gay all the time. Because I'm not going to be watching, and I don't think people are on board with it, which is, fine if you are, but it's just, that's a limited audience. It's like, and representation is very important in films. Okay, well, what's the BLT audience? Like, realistically, a few percent. Is it enough to sustain an industry? No, absolutely not. You know that. Everyone knows that. Anyway, someone in the comment section said, you're going to have scenes in these movies that are easily edited out for China, because you're going to have scenes that are not connected to the prior scene and the following scene, where you could edit out a total of, like, you have, like, say, 10 minutes in a 2-hour movie that establishes Deadpool as a gay character. That can be clipped out. You wouldn't even notice. It would probably, in the Chinese version of the movie, is probably going to be better. It'll have a little bit more action. It won't have the Hollywood Bolshevik propaganda. It'll be it'll be what a film is supposed to be. It's just mindless entertainment, not constant politics from literally like the last presidency, just nonstop Trump derangement syndrome, insane levels of, these certain things that are in the cultural zeitgeist now, they're very ephemeral. These are things that they're going to be, mayflies over a pond in the afternoon. They're going to be in and out of the culture very, very quickly. You think all the BLT stuff is really, really in for the good, the long term? It's just it's like how Bernice got her bob, if you remember that book from the 20s, or Flappers, and just all this other nonsense. I mean, these movies are going to be watched once, used once, and destroyed, is kind of what I mean. Oh, but also in the news this week is that Margot Robbie is tired of Harley Quinn, and even James Gunn thinks that the superhero genre is getting played out. Yeah, no doubt. It does feel played out to me, partially because they're getting too weird with the race swapping, the sex swapping. If Black Widow is the vibe that they're going for in the future, they are kind of winding things down. Black Panther is always going to be a big seller because the audience is built in. You're always going to have, it's better to have a small dedicated audience than this big audience that is very flighty. And I assume that they're going to be doing an insufferable version of Kamala Khan, a Pox Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, which, to be fair, it would have to be better than Brie Larson, because anything is better than Brie Larson. That movie, Captain Marvel, I tried to watch it 3 times. I couldn't get through it, and I realized, why am I doing this to myself? What's the payoff of me completely, like, sitting down, paying attention to this movie? There's no payoff, so I just stopped. And I realized, no, it's not worth it. And I tried to watch the last X-Men movie. I got like 15 minutes in it, and like, this is punishment. They'll probably do an insufferably woke Iron Man, Iron Heart type of thing. It's like, great, you created a character who steals a costume and then tramples on people's individual due process rights and invades foreign countries. Good going. Keep that up. So the future of this genre is going to be insufferably lame and absolutely cringe. People were on board Black Panther, and I think still are. Partially, it's got the name Black in it. It's easy to identify. It's like, oh, it's this strong. I forget the character's name. I mean, the one guy, rest in peace, passed away of cancer at like 43. That friggin' sucks. But you have a whole film universe to pick up the pieces, and it's like the story will be even more interesting because you've got a guy substituting for the king. It's not. It was not. I thought it was a really mediocre movie, but it's got a built-in audience that is going to throw money at it, and the t-shirts and all this kind of stuff, especially the post-2020 riots. It's like a small dedicated audience. It's something for them to rally around. But if you're talking about female heroes in the roles of male heroes, you know, Sigourney Weaver is a rarity that comes along once every 4 years. You're just not going to get a Sigourney Weaver or Harrison Ford or Carrie Fisher. There's lightning in a bottle. You just can't contain it. I mean, if you could, you'd be doing it nonstop. So I think it's going to be really rare to find a big following for a female-led film. And another thing with Disney in specific is they fired Gina Carano, and they just seem like sleazy, scummy, douchebaggy people. But realistically, I don't know how many people are on Twitter or they're following the movie review sites. The casual viewer has no idea about the Mando and the Gina Carano situation. It's just kind of part of the cultural zeitgeist. It's just part of the background matrix of the conglomerate. Why the geology references? The average viewer just wants bread and circuses. If you want girls on screen, they have to be sexy blondes with nice jugs. It is what it is. It's like, how hard is it to dye somebody's hair? It's like, when you're younger, you look at some sexy blonde, your girlfriend looks at you, she's like, that came out of a bottle, you idiot. Blondes with nice jugs go a long way. For some reason, guys are really into boobs. Boobs on my BitChute thumbnails, it's like, oh, a video got 1,000 views. Why? Because I used Brittany Ventney's thumbnail. Oh, yeah, dudes are really into big natural milkers, which I assume hers are. Margot Robbie says she's tired of making crappy Harley Quinn movies. Well, so is the audience, so just stop making them. Suicide Squad was not very good, and Birds of Prey was just silly, but also embarrassing. Oh, God, what horrible people these are. Everyone involved in Hollywood, 90% of people involved in Hollywood are filthy vermin who I would censored. I don't think a studio wants to risk money on a third movie with her in it of that type of genre that probably won't break even. Her shtick was that she was a sexy girl. That's her job for 20 years. Just, hey, Margot, don't eat carbs, give yourself a little exercise, stay at 120 pounds, and I don't know, whatever 18% body fat, whatever she is to maintain that role. Stay out of the sun. You'll have a very long career. The male gaze, that was how films get made. Her what was her thing? Those booty shorts she was wearing. That was probably responsible for $200 million. It's like, it is what it is. Why didn't they cast Amy Schumer in the role, or Lenham Dunham, who, to be fair, she recently got in shape, so good for her. Why do you think? Why do guys have, in all those movies, why do they have abs? Because sex sells, and it's not exactly sex. Not everyone's a coomer. That might be too strong a word, but attractiveness, fitness sells. People have to fit the role. People aren't necessarily sexually attracted to characters on film. I don't think many people really are, but they don't want to be repulsed by them. That's probably more accurate to say. The look of a character can't get in the way of the story, but something like Birds of Prey, that didn't bring anything to the table. It was a bunch of ugly, angry-looking chicks, and it wasn't funny enough to play that off, so guys didn't see it. It wasn't a romance, so chicks didn't go. So it turns out it just underperformed. I don't know if it bombed, but it did definitely. I actually think it probably did bomb. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I will see you all next episode.